quantum computer is like you going through the maze at the same time and finding the solution at the same time. And that is very interesting. Most of the system we have is based on hard mathematical problems. It's based on that we have like large numbers that we cannot factor using classical computers or the elliptic curve. But because of quantum computers and the probability and also algorithms that we have, like the Shor algorithm, we believe that we will be able to, factor this large number in a matter of minutes. But we have to calm down first, because right now there's a lot of noise in quantum computers. We can't do that right now, but then doesn't mean we cannot do that at all.
Welcome to The Edge of Show, your gateway to the Web3 revolution. We explore the cutting edge of blockchain, cryptocurrency, NFTs, ordinals, DeFi, gaming, and entertainment, plus how AI is reshaping our digital future. Join us as we bring you visionaries and disruptors pushing boundaries in this digital renaissance. This show is for the dreamers, disruptors, and doers that are pumped about where innovation meets culture. This is where the future begins.
We're expanding across new frontiers, streaming on Zora and Rumble. On Zora, creativity lives on-chain, where every post, drop, and idea can evolve into something of real value. Explore what we're building on Zora at zora.co. And on Rumble, you'll find the space where creators connect freely and conversations grow without limits. Catch our episodes and join the discussion on Rumble at rumble.com. Just hit either platform and search The Edge of Show to find us. Two communities, one mission, building the future together.
As the moderator, it's going to be Heather Flannery. She is the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of AI Mind Systems Foundation. Joining her on the stage will be Colonel David Beck, who is the principal of Space Technologies Limited, and Temitope. She is a quantum and AI researcher, and she's doing her PhD at Cleveland State University. We welcome them to the stage.
So ending a day like this is something that I'm hoping all of us leave really energized. I am so humbled and honored, and too far away from my esteemed co-panelists to have this conversation. We're here now to move a little bit beyond the practical, beyond the right now, into what's next, but not as far away as you might think. I'd like to offer the opportunity for my esteemed co-panelists to briefly introduce themselves. And as an opening salvo, what I would like to suggest with quantum is that each of us, every individual person here, is already a quantum machine of extraordinary efficiency. We are learning from humanity and from life itself how to computationally adapt. And we've got a message of incredible hope for humanity and for all of us to share this evening. So I'd like to start with Colonel Beck.
Thank you, everybody. Proud to be here. I just retired from the Space Force, but I didn't retire from the mission. So glad to be here to support. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I didn't think I'd get this kind of love when I left the military, but it feels a lot. The quantum thing is very important to me because I think we don't understand that cranium on top of your skull is the fastest computer on the planet. And quantum is derived from us. It's just like AI is derived from us. It's just an extension of our brain and ability to adapt and do rapid computation and give us the things we need to build our innovation in our ecosystem. My background is important to me because I think it gives you a fusion of why we need industrial-based activities and blockchain and quantum and all these really wonderful technology innovations. Some are more highly evolved than others to make our systems more valuable and to build our ecosystem so that we can sustain things on as we go toward the final tech side and move into the space sector. I think it's very important. So my background is like watching one of those soup to nuts type things where I've done a lot of different things. I picked and choose what I've done to make it better, and I'm here to support each and every one of you in your endeavors to build out our ecosystem, especially for what GBA is doing, the Edge of Company, on all those great companies listed in the back of the room, and those who are not on that wall who are sitting in front of me right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your service, Colonel Beck. and Temitope.
Hi, everyone. I'm Temitope Adeniyi, and I have a background in physics where I was doing a lot of resources and a lot of learning in solid state physics and more of the theoretical side of physics. I was doing a PhD in physics before I fell in love with coding, and I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. So I went ahead to do another PhD in computer science, and now I'm working on the intersection of applying physics, math, coding, quantum computing, AI, to build much more safe systems. And I'm more on the academia side of things, theoretical side of things. And I was approached also by my CEO from Black Wallet, and I love it when the industry want to be forward thinking in terms of this technology. There's a lot of skepticism about this technology, a lot of fear. Most people are saying no, quantum is gonna break down everything, and it happened with AI. A lot of people were saying AI will take our jobs. AI is not good for humanity. We are seeing the same thing play out in quantum. And the problem lies between the academia, the private sector, and the industry. We academia, we are in our labs, working on this beautiful algorithm. And we forgot that the public are the people that will use these algorithms. We need to explain this algorithm in a very easy way such that they understand it. So I was so happy when he came to me and said, okay, we want a chief quantum officer. So I was like, oh, okay, chief quantum officer. That is so cool. And through that, we were able to, talk about how we can apply quantum to the blockchain feed, and also think in a forward way, and also preach that there's nothing to fear about quantum in the crypto and blockchain space. We need to think more about the innovation, because fear will cripple down innovation, and it will change a lot of things about the policy and what we academia are actually working on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it calls to mind a statement that I love: fear is the mind killer. Anyone recognize that? Absolutely. I'd like to get a show of hands from the audience. How many of you have heard or have been believing that it won't be possible for us to upgrade blockchain protocols, and that everything, all of our work years to date in this space is likely to be completely lost and irrelevant? So I think one of the first things we need to do is disabuse the audience of this perception that there is not an upgrade path, and that that we are that our work has been irrelevant. And I think Colonel Beck, you likely have ideas and concepts that you might want to share about a pathway for that, for that upgrade process.
Well, I think thank you very much, Heather, for that. To add what Mike's saying, I'm sure in his head, because he thinks a lot. Every system in orbit, like we've been putting satellite systems in orbit for 30, 40 years, right? And people ask the question, are they secure? I had a discussion earlier with a cybersecurity effort on that. Every system in orbit, even though the processor speed and the computational mathematics to build that system is locked in and hardened to that system, it can be upgraded. There's possibility to be protected. It's just finding the use case to build around that to get that to work. It's the same thing we're doing here. Quantum might not fit everything you're doing, but if you add to quantum, you add legacy material that gives it a reason to fulfill a task. There you have a reason to build something that can actually work in a real world scenario. So I think there's ways to do that. We are now at Space Force since I've left, but before I left, we talked about how can we get legacy systems to be active and useful. You can still draw sunlight through the photo arrays. You can still get data, which is a very valuable piece of anything you build is the data you receive from it. And you can still find ways to find solutions through that data, the repository, which is valuable assets on the ground and getting innovation in the sky. So we just got to find a way to do it. And one of the things to me is finding people who are actually forward thinking and say, I got an idea for that. Let's sit and talk. So there's ways to do that. We just got to infuse that. And one of the biggest problems we got now is education of quantum and understanding what it's about, what it is. Mike knows just as much. I'm referencing Mike again here in the audience. 10 years ago, what was it, 10 years ago, we had a quantum event here in Northwest DC. And some of the people that came to this event with the MIT event we put together were some of the people who actually built the first systems in the late 80s. So this is nothing new, like AI. It's been around for a long time. Those computer systems been around for a long time. We just got to educate people in baby steps on how we can infuse that technology innovation with what they have and make it feasible for the systems we're building around blockchain, edge computing, science, and space aspirations. Thank you.
Absolutely. And speaking of baby steps, we've had some really significant accomplishments in technologically just in this last year or so. After a number of years of effort, our National Institutes of Science and Technology, or NIST, published a series of 3 post-quantum resistant encryption protocols. And as the researcher on the stage, Temitope, could you unpack for the audience, if they're not familiar, what those are and how they can be utilized?
Okay, so everything we have presently are classical systems. It computes with 2-state deterministic, and we have 0-1 deterministic, not probabilistic. Quantum computers, it's based on probability and not deterministic, and it has use quantum phenomena like superposition, entanglement to be able to do things, faster. So we have quantum parallelism where it can compute at the same time. Imagine going through a maze. You have to go from one point to another in classical computer. When you get to a roadblock, you have to go back, go over again, go back. But in quantum computer, it's like you going through the maze at the same time and finding the solution at the same time. And that is very interesting. And most of the system we have is based on hard mathematical problems. It's based on that we have large numbers that we cannot factor using classical computers or the elliptic curve. But because of quantum computers and the probability and also the algorithms that we have, like the Shor algorithm, we believe that we will be able to, factor this large number in a matter of minutes. But we have to calm down first, because right now there's a lot of noise in quantum computers. We can't do that right now, but then it doesn't mean we cannot do that at all. We're looking at in the next decade, we have quantum computers that are powerful enough that will be able to break this, encryption and be able to factorize these large numbers. And we also have Grover algorithms also that can be able to, find possibilities at the same time. And because of that, we have a lot of post-quantum cryptography methods that are being rolled out presently. And we have some that are we have the cyber, the crystal kyber, we have the dilithium that are also being rolled out. And the most interesting thing is that even though this system will break down encryption, at the same time, this system will make us a much more secure network and communication. So most of the time, we don't talk about the security that quantum will give us, because we have something called quantum key distribution. And through that, if we are sending a key, we would not be able to spy on that key because of something called no cloning theorem. And it's based on physics, like the laws of the universe. You cannot eavesdrop on a key. And because of that, the moment you eavesdrop on a key or a quantum state, the quantum state collapses. And everybody, that's, okay, there's something going on here. And it will make our communication and our network much more secure. So even though we have, it will break down the encryption and everything. But then at the same time, quantum key distribution is going on. A lot of algorithms are being developed based on that. And also we have a lot of cryptography, post-quantum cryptography method being developed that would help us also in the space. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I'd love to double click on both national and geopolitical and galactic potentially security concerns, along with the nearer term cybersecurity and security implications of future-proofing our trust systems that we've all been building. So going into just a little bit more detail, I'd like to ask you, Colonel Beck, to give us some scenarios that are likely to play out in space and near Earth, where secure comms between various asset types, human and otherwise, need to be happening, and we need the same kind of trust and verification dynamics that we've been creating here on Earth in space. And then from there, I'd like to talk a little bit about the intricacies of what would be involved in taking a blockchain protocol like we would use on Earth right now today, and how we would advance that to adopt the post-quantum resistant methods. Over to you.
So I throw one out there that's going to happen in 2030. When they decommission the U.S. ISS space station, it's going to be a very, very hard and very difficult task, because you're taking something that's been up there for 30 plus years, and you're going to systematically break it down, and some of it is supposed to go through the orbit and burn up in the atmosphere. Part of that is communication. So right now, from the ISS standpoint, bringing that humongous craft that's been pieced together over many decades together would take an adequate and very well systematically scaled communication process. And I think using blockchain software to communicate that in that presence would be very important, because you need something that's real time on the duty. Just give you a good example. From DoD standpoint, we have a unified architecture framework that we use. It's a collaboration of AWS and Oracle and all these companies we talked about this morning to bring data down from space. It goes into a huge framework, which is distributed to the different agencies like the Cybersecurity Administration, the DoD, Air Force, Army, other entities, community partners, Five Eyes nations. Sometimes it gets hung up in a huge data-driven chain because it's using conventional technology. We have to look at space differently. We can't use the same architecture for space we use on planet. We need to be more proactive thinking. I think blockchain and quantum play a really good piece in deactivating the space station, because think about it. If you get the technology at the ISS space station in the wrong hands, might steal a piece of debris that has some electronics in it as it's going through the whole process, then that's a national security risk. So that's a really good example of a future capability issue that could happen, but also how we need to decentralize this with the effort we're doing with this huge conference, the future of money governance and the law, which will take us perspective into 2030 and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic examples, and thank you. So as we look and imagine a blockchain protocol that is tuned for space, you're thinking about something that would have all the characteristics of edge computing today, but we're talking about a much further away edge with very, very interesting challenges. One of the implications is that you can't assume a persistent connection, and you have to be able to accumulate data and process locally, and then be able to verify subsequently, and not necessarily temporally. So I would love from your perspective, Temitope, how can we look at applying these new methods of key encapsulation, quantum key encapsulation and management, and new approaches to digital signatures into existing blockchain protocols? And if you want to start by just talking about the problem of, we're all accustomed to just let's say the basic encryption usually used in most blockchains, elliptic curve type encryption. Where does that fall down? What's being added and what's being changed in these new methods? And what I want to get this conversation to is practical pathways that are available to us, actionable practical pathways that are available to us now to future-proof today's trust systems.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. So, as I said previously, most of this technology and everything like all the digital, assets we have, blockchain and many of this technology built on, the digital infrastructure is based on the hard mathematical problem, such that we know that classical computers will not be able to, break down these things. And right now, we have a lot of, post-cryptography method being designed such that we can prepare for the future. So the difference between someone who will be future-proof from quantum and someone that will have to, maybe fall into the doomsday of quantum, even though it's not doomsday, is how we prepare right now. Is our government or is our industry or our industry right now preparing for those technology. So there's something we talk about in the space. We talk about, harvest now and decrypt later. So most hackers right now might be harvesting your data and be keeping them into, a data bank and prepare for the future such that when we have like much more better quantum computers that are error free, they will go ahead, and start to decrypt your data set. And we also have that in blockchain. Most people are right now talking about it, that right now we need to prepare for a future-proof blockchain such that we know that in the future, when we have quantum computers that are much more powerful, we will be able to,
That's right. And if we fail to do that, we can't control what's already been harvested. To suggest we could is farcical. However, when a point in time forward transition is made, net new transactions persisted on chain from that point in time forward can be quantum resistant, and the old legacy assets on chain from prior to that can be rolled up to state in the new upgraded chain. So we can control for 2 of 3 major security vectors, and there's absolutely no reason to wait when we know that the harvesting is happening as fast as can be done.
Right. We have 6,000 satellites in orbit. I would say 30% of those satellite systems can be repurposed for this effort, using some very smooth technology to get them to help with the blockchain effort. We have existing infrastructure. Put a brand new constellation out there to do that. You just need to use some good old fashioned, elbow grease to get this to work with a centralized system based on the blockchain quantum.
That is an absolute inspiration, and to know that there is even that idea and an openness to using those kinds of shared resources to this end is very exciting. So we talked about key management, quantum key distribution, etc. We talked a touch about digital signatures. There's one other major component in the blockchain space, and that's the component of identity itself. So when we think about self-sovereign or other decentralized identity methods, those two, when rolling on chain and being used in wallet architectures and in pointing to NFTs and all of these other things, if the DID method itself is not post-quantum resistant, then every transaction, talk about real-world assets, oracles between a Web3 and a Web2 economy, every transaction that would be mediated or pivot upon a decentralized identity would have a vulnerability even if the network and protocol layer were protected. So I have long had a belief that identity is the cornerstone of the foundation of what we need to build, both in AI, for ethical AI, and in realizing the potential of blockchain technologies. So as we look to this future proofing, there is a reason to come all the way back to the center, to individual humans, and devising an identity structure that is also upgraded. And I'd love to offer each of you closing remarks. We've got about 2 minutes left. I know Bryant is going to be on it. Colonel Beck, all of the elements that would need to be orchestrated between space infrastructures and near Earth and back to Earth. Could you talk a little bit about the role of identifying those things and identifying the humans who have authorities around those things, and how critical that step might be to this future proofing?
Well, we talked about policy today, but one of the things I think really deeply we need to talk about is space policy. To put our hands around or our minds around how that play in the blockchain, space, quantum, and science realm would actually take place in near Earth orbit or within layers of orbit or deep space. We have to first look at what is the complexities that we're trying to build across. So a lot of it is political, because when you put something in orbit, you have to play the game of where you place it, because somebody wants to take it out because it might stand in their way of watching ESPN highlights at 2:00 and trying to figure out how to fix national security at 8:00. So we got to figure out that way. I think one of the things we talked about a few weeks ago when I was talking to an institute up in DC when I was in LA was putting together a formable policy among the constituents. Like everybody in this room, let's work together and build a policy how we will play fairly in space using quantum and edge technology in these areas, and then see whether the nations who should be leading this perspective to guide it later. Let's do it ourselves on the private side and not wait for someone to lead that effort. They lead it ourselves. That would give us a best perspective on how to do this, because technology doesn't stop for anybody. Like we're sitting here today in this 8-hour, 9-hour class, 300 satellites are launching. There's 1,000 different computer systems, software is being built, and somebody just made the next breakthrough in quantum. It's not on 6 o'clock news, it's not on CNN, it's not on Apple News, but it's happening. And it's going to continue to happen whether we pay attention to it or not. NVIDIA didn't become a $5 trillion company overnight because somebody thought it should be. It's because they stationed and positioned themselves to do so. The next company in this room can do the same thing. So we got to work together, build an ecosystem. And I think what Kevin is doing at National Digital Foundry really brings about that change in where we can position ourselves. Thank you.
I think for me, we need to see the academia more in spaces like this, because some of this technology that we are looking at, that it's new. It was the past for them. They developed those technologies like 10 years ago, and they know deeply more about these technologies. So they need to be in rooms like this to talk about, okay, this is the next step forward. This is the future. We need to prepare for this, because if we wait till we have those technology in hand, it might be too late for us to prepare for it. So let them be in those rooms. Let them tell us about what they are working on, what we need to invest in, what we need to look forward to. Because whether we like it or not, quantum is here. And in the next decade, it's going to disrupt a lot of spaces. And if we are still looking at it like, oh no, it still is the past, or it's not big enough to matter right now, it's a lie. It will matter very soon, like in the nearest decade. So they need to be in spaces like this and tell us more about, what we need to look forward to and what we need to prepare for.
Thank you so much. And in my closing remark, I just want to comment that in our industry, in the blockchain space, we've been railing for years about why we can't get more serious real world use cases and real economic demand. And that's been a theme all along. In a way, that's a good thing, because we have an inflection point and a window of opportunity to upgrade our trust systems before we start moving trillions of new volume of new economic volume on chain, digital and quantum biology on chain, and more. So thank you.
We've reached the outer limit at the edge of show for today. Thanks for exploring with us. We have room for more adventurers on our starship, so invite your friends and cool strangers to join our journey. If you're among the hundreds of thousands following us on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, or watching us on Myco or YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, rate us, and make an awesome comment too. And don't forget to pass this episode along to a friend or two who would benefit from it. Doubling back to again, recommend checking out myco.io, where you can watch The Edge of Show and earn for your time and attention. That's myco.io. Don't forget to visit theedgeofshow.com. The is part of the domain name, where you can learn more about collaborating with us, and also subscribe to the Edge of Weekly newsletter for the latest Web3 news, events, and show drops. In addition, connect with us on all major social platforms by searching for The Edge of Show. Join the exciting conversations happening online. Lastly, be sure to tune in next time for more great Web3 and AI content. Until then, keep pushing the boundaries. Thanks again for hanging out with us today. The views and opinions expressed on The Edge of Show reflect solely those views and opinions of the show host and its guests. Please make sure to do your own research. Our show is not financial advice. You understand that you are using any and all information on or through this podcast at your own risk. Whenever making financial decisions, we recommend doing your own research and talking to your accountant for financial advice. From time to time, we may feature sponsored content on the show for which we receive value, and we may share links for which we receive a commission if you make a purchase through one of these links. Refer to our website, www.edgeofnft.com, for our full disclaimer, terms and conditions, and privacy policy.